Moving on to the Marvel side of the comic book universe, Spider-Man Homecoming news. We've been talking about how stacked the casting is. It was reported that Jon Favreau will be returning as Happy Hogan for Spider-Man Homecoming, in addition to, Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. But we've known that Michael Keaton will be playing the Vulture, aka Adrian Toomes, but it's been rumored that there will be other villains as well. And according to this other report from comicbookmovie.com, we've yet to receive confirmation that Bokeem Woodbine would be playing Herman Schultz the Shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming, even though a call sheet had leaked the casting. However, the latest photos from the Atlanta set of the 2017 reboot may have revealed our very first look at the Fargo actor in his full costume as the classic Spidey supervillain. Instagram seems to be the original source of the collage photos below, so the quality is not that great. We can actually see if it's Woodbine in the classic yellow suit, given his comic-accurately costume from head to toe. However, we can see devices attached to his wrist, which will likely help him send out shock waves, much to Spider-Man's dismay. Apparently, this is the first of 2 battle suits the Shocker will don, so what do you think? You can't see the photos, obviously, but it looks like it's very much homemade, and you can see it has the wrist guards that cause the electric blast. What I think will happen is I think this will be his first costume, one that he kind of made himself. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Amazing Spider-Man movie when Andrew Garfield made his costume by himself, how it looked a little bit different. And then I think the Tinkerer will build him his traditional suit. So I have no issue with multiple villains being in this movie, as long as it doesn't take away from the main plot. Like, we use Spider-Man 3 as a classic example. We had the Sandman as the primary villain, but then they had to add in the fact that he was the one who killed Uncle Ben. Then they added, the new Goblin. They added Venom at the very last minute because Sony was like, hey, Venom's popular. You got to put him in the movie. Yay. And then you cast Eric Foreman from the 70s show as Eddie Brock, who's supposed to be this huge guy who's supposed to be like Brock Lesnar size. But anyway, I won't get on a rant about Spider-Man 3. What I'm saying is, as long as it's something similar to, like, I didn't mind how Rhino was used in Amazing Spider-Man 2 for how not great of a movie that was. I thought it handled the multiple villains fairly well. So I think that, I don't mind the Shocker being in it as long as he has like maybe one fight with Spider-Man towards the beginning of the movie, and then we see him later on with his traditional suit and they have another fight. So I would keep it at 2 appearances at the most, but I don't have an issue with it as long as they do it right. And I have faith because Marvel knows the pressure they are under to get this right, because Spider-Man is their Mickey Mouse. This is their most iconic character they have in their entire library, and the fact that they finally got the movie rights to him back, they're not going to screw it up. So I'm really, really stoked about this. I can't wait to see the first trailer for it. I've heard this is going to be similar to a type of, 80s John Hughes film, which I think would be really cool because I'm a huge fan of like The Breakfast Club, Home Alone, 16 Candles, all of those movies. I think this could be really, really good and very different from the other movies because you have that high school setting, that teenager stuff you're dealing with. I just think it could be different, and I think it could be really cool, and I really don't think that Marvel is going to screw it up. Last bit of news comes from comicbookmovie.com. They might as well be a sponsor of this episode. Talking about the Power Rangers reboot that comes out next year. Don't expect to see any of the original Power Rangers cast cameo in the upcoming reboot. When a classic or cult favorite TV series is given the big screen treatment, the filmmakers will usually try to find room for a cameo appearance from an original cast member or two, but that won't be the case with the upcoming Power Rangers reboot. Walter Jones, who played the Black Ranger Zack, very nice guy by the way, met him at Pensacon, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, was a guest on the Audibly Exquisite podcast and revealed that neither he nor any of his castmates from that show were asked to appear in the film. "It's not likely," said the actor when asked about the possibility of a cameo. "Unfortunately, we were not invited to be a part of the film, which is confusing to me, but I'm excited about the film nevertheless." And then it asks, how do you guys feel about this? Are you disappointed, or do you think it's best if the movie distances itself from the 90s TV series? I am disappointed in this because it's cool seeing, you know, a reboot, or if it's a reboot that you're excited about, that you go see and then you see one of the original cast members pop up. It's a cool moment. And I was picturing something like maybe, you know, Rita or whatever monster that the Rangers are fighting beats them and they have to come back and kind of, you know, collect themselves. That the 5 original Rangers show up. Not saying that they're the original Rangers, because this is a reboot, but maybe they show up to give the 5 Rangers some advice on how to beat Rita, or, you know, give them the whole, you know, "may the power protect you" kind of speech. It's disappointing. I would have loved to have seen these. I would have loved to have seen the original Rangers make an appearance on the movie. I don't know why they didn't do it. Maybe, you know, this article is right. Maybe it's just them trying to distance themselves from the show and make it something their own, which I can respect, but I also think that you're going to disappoint a lot of people if you don't have the original Power Rangers. And it could have just been a one-off thing, like maybe they all play high school teachers, or you know, something along to that effect. Like, I think it would have been hilarious if there was a scene where they're doing, like, you know, a lab class and Billy is their teacher because he was the nerd. Maybe they're at some type of PE class or learning martial arts and their instructor is Jason. You know, Zach can be teaching dance classes. Kimberly can be teaching gymnastics. I don't know. It's not going to affect me not seeing the movie because I'm still very interested in seeing it. But I'm still holding out reservations on how it's going to be. I'm still going to go see it, but I do have my concerns about it. I think that there's a possibility it will try and take itself way too seriously, and people won't buy in because people know it for the campy, you know, over-the-top show that it was. Now, if they do it right, it could be kind of cool. But I think the first trailer is really going to set the tone for people's expectations for this movie. I just hope they don't make the same mistake that Ghostbusters did. I didn't see the new Ghostbusters, but I did hear that it was actually a pretty good movie. But you wouldn't know that because the first trailer was crap. It made it seem like Bridesmaids with better special effects. So they've really got to come out with the first trailer. I don't know when it's coming out yet, but they've got to come out and they've got to put out a really strong trailer. And I think that if there is no cameo by the original cast members, I think it's going to be a mistake. It could be that Walter Jones is just yanking our chain and they'll show up at some point in the movie. I don't know. We'll just have to see.